Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com, and we're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Excuse me, before we get started, a couple things. Yes, we're running a little bit late this week. Unfortunately, I had some car issues that affected the whole timeline of recording this video, which unfortunately we all have to deal with some days. But the car's fine now, knock on some sort of wood. Or knock on my head, so there was that, and just general busyness. But a couple things. Want to point out one thing I got at San Diego Comic-Con. A good friend of mine, Rafael Navarro, who does this amazing artwork, did this incredible demon sketch for me, and he's absolutely an amazing artist. And he's his comic Sembulo. He recently did the first set of stories in a hardcover. I'll try to post the link in the comments. But he is a fantastic artist, and if you get a chance, he's done work in the animation industry. He's worked on tons of stuff, but he's just a really brilliant artist, and it's always a treat to figure out what I want him to do. But this demon is absolutely amazing. So I wanted to point that out because he's such a great artist and incredibly nice guy, super nice guy. Actually, you can find him a lot of times. He'll be at Pulp Fiction Long Beach. He's there fairly often. But so we're going to go quickly through the books that I've changed behind. I remembered to actually change stuff. I wasn't sure whether I was going to remember to do that. So we have Hawkeye by Matt Fraction and David Aja, which is really a great book. Batman the Outsiders is really one of my favorites. It spun out of when DC decided to not so much cancel, but not do Brave and the Bold anymore. Then Mike W. Barr and Jim Aparo, who had been drawing Brave and the Bold like forever, they gave it a new spin. It's a really great book. Unfortunately, I think, sadly, that hardcover's out of print. Then there's Harley and Ivy. Let me fix that so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Harley and Ivy by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. Of course, they are a couple of the creators of Batman, the animated series. These are really fun stories. Then we have Not Brand Ech, which was a Marvel book in the 60s, I believe. 60s or 70s, and Jack Kirby worked on them, John Buscema, Marie Severine, and it had a character Forbush Man that was created for the book, but they basically did parodies of superhero comics, and it's really good stuff. Then we have I'm gonna move out of the way, Slaughterhouse 5 Adaption by Ryan North and Albert Montoyes. That is a really brilliant book, and it's one of those things. I think actually a visual adaptation of that story actually works really well because it's a pretty meaty story. And then finally we have Hero by David Rubin. I love David Rubin's artwork. He's absolutely fantastic. Sadly, I think unfortunately Dark Horse has taken that out of print. But if you can find it, I don't think it goes for a ton of money, but if you can find it, there's two books. This is the first one. There's book 1 and book two, and it's a story about a story about Hercules. And it's really amazing. So it's written and drawn by David Rubin, and really well worth checking out. Okay, so one minor thing before we get started with comics. So I wasn't able to review comics for the week of San Diego Comic-Con. So what we're doing is I kept promising that I'd do a video, but unfortunately, as I'm sure it happens to you, life gets in the way. So what I'm gonna do is because we're catching up to those titles, the next issue has come out. So I'm going to combine them when they hit. So this is the first week where those start to hit. So there's going to be a number of books in here that we're going to do 2 issues at a time reviews. So we'll kind of condense that down. That way we don't have to, go back and do something that's just not going to really be efficient anymore. And this will help me. Hopefully it'll help you. And hopefully it'll help everybody get through missing that week. So that's why this week's going to be a little big, but we'll still try to go through them pretty fairly quickly. So as far as the Night Terrors goes, at this point, I'm only going to point out the ones that are actually worth checking out. There were some from the week of San Diego that there was the Catwoman and Superman. The Superman was kind of okay. The Catwoman was sadly not very good, and the artwork was just downright not just it was not good. It was in fact terrible. I'm not even going to mention who did that, but it was just not good. So at this point, I'm just going to go through the ones that are basically the last ones that are still standing. So with that out of the way, first up we have Night Terrors Wonder Woman #1. And Night Terrors Wonder Woman #2, written by Josie Campbell with artwork by Juan Ferreira. So this one is, it has Wonder Woman, Constantine, Detective Chimp, Dr. Fate, Etrigan, and Ragman, and it's the Nightmare. It's kind of like, so what Campbell has done here, it's kind of like Justice League Dark, but adding Wonder Woman. She was in just the recent version of Justice League Dark, and so it's that, and it's them having their nightmares, and it was actually quite interesting. It was a good Wonder Woman story. It was nice to see all those other characters. I'm a sucker for the DC mystical characters, and it's actually a pretty nice companion piece to the Zatanna Night Terrors that I actually did like. I think it was well worth checking out. I like the story. Once again, I haven't really been overwhelmed by any of these Night Terrors, but I think there have been a few that are at least worth checking out, that are relatively way above average at this point. Juan Ferreira's art's actually really nice. It actually is really nice. Has kind of a painted look to it. It's really interesting. So I'm a big fan of Wonder Woman, and I think Campbell and Ferreira did a nice job on this. So I think that one was worth checking out. Next up, we have Night Terrors Nightwing #1. And we have Night Terror Nightwing #2. Both were written by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad, with artwork by Danielle D. Niculo. So what the main crux of this story was is Nightwing's terror or nightmare is getting locked up in Arkham Asylum, and what it is when people get locked up in Arkham Asylum, it changes them. So everybody's slightly different, and he ends up being, they're kind of doing experiments on him to change them in Arkham, and so he ends up with his roommate or cellmate Scarecrow, who has somewhat figured out how to escape Arkham, because it's kind of like a maze that changes all the time. But before he can escape, Barbara's there, and Barbara's actually been, her greatest fear is, as being Oracle, is actually turning into a computer and becoming less human, and that's her nightmare. So Dick has to kind of rescue her and everyone else, and it was interesting. Cloonan and Conrad did a nice job on the story. It wasn't a boohoo story, which a lot of the Night Terrors were. And the artwork by D. Niculo was actually pretty nice. It was interesting. Of course, I'm a big fan of Nightwing by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo, but I think I'll definitely give it to Cloonan and Conrad. They did one thing, or a number of things right. I think it's a standalone story that just is by itself. The other thing that was really smart is it wasn't like, at the end of the issue, a lot of them have, we're going to continue this story. The story's going to continue in like the Night Terrors main book. This one is like, okay, this story's done. Dick wakes up and, that's it. I actually much preferred that than the tacked on last page of, we're going to go do some more nightmare fighting. And, but like I said, this one was actually pretty good, and definitely one of the few that was worth checking out. Next up, we have Dark Spaces Hollywood Special #1, written by Jeremy Lambert with artwork by Claire Rowe. So what this is there's two Hollywood stars, Vivian Drake and Lou Gaines. In the case of Vivian, it appears that she's kind of an older actress, but she owes money to the government. So what she and Lou are doing is, it's during the war, and they've been tasked to help with the war efforts, to convince people to either buy bonds or, sign up for service. And so they're on a train, and they're going around to different parts of the country, and they come across this small town where it's a coal mining town. So, they're not going to be selling war bonds. They're going to really be, oh, you need to join the army. But when they get there, there's nobody at the train station because the coal mine has collapsed, and there's miners trapped in there. So Vivian and Lou are like, hey, we're going to go help rescue these people. But, I don't want to give too much away, but there's something mysterious about whether it's the coal mine or them, but there's kind of a horror twist at the end. And like I said, I don't want to give it away. That was actually quite intriguing, and I really, really enjoyed this first issue. Lambert's story was really good. It has a nice setup and everything there, to the story. And Rowe's artwork is really, really nice. It's a really good looking book. And the other nice thing it does, not only is it set up, it gives you a good reason to come back to continue the story. So definitely well worth checking out. I really like this book. Next up, we have Void Rivals #2. And we have Void Rivals #3. So basically, the main crux of the second issue story was of Derek and kind of his past, and pointing out his relationship with his father and what they were trying to do with this why he was sent into space, the reasons for that. And also it kind of played into the background of the differences between these two people. Like I said, I believe I mentioned this in the first issue. It's kind of like the one episode of Star Trek where, there's the people that have black on one side, white on the other, and then the other ones are switched. This is basically that same premise of these people are related, but they think they're different and they hate each other. So at the end of the second issue, their ship gets captured by another ship. And so the third issue, they're on this ship, which kind of seems to be like, well, it's kind of like a bounty hunter prison ship where he collects things and then he sells them to the highest bidder. And so they are able, because he says, oh, well, you guys are worth nothing, so I don't care. So anyways, they're able to escape, and I don't want to give too much away, but then there's a twist at the end with the between Derek and Celia, that things may not work out the way that they hoped, but there's something kind of darker underneath that's going on. I'll be honest, I wasn't super impressed with the first issue. I mean, I liked it okay. It's kind of getting better. It's kind of a slow burn of how much I do like it. I do enjoy how Kirkman is kind of building the story, and I kind of like each individual issue. At this point, because a part of the whole thing was this is supposed to be kind of a kickoff for Transformers, that really there hasn't been, except for in the first issue having one of the Transformers show up, there really hasn't been any Transformers stuff. So I don't know if they're going to show up or if they're even going to be part of this anymore. But I would say I wouldn't necessarily buy this book because it might be a Transformers book at this point. But it's an interesting story. I wouldn't say that it's blowing me away, but it's kind of slowly kind of getting me, okay, I am enjoying this. So we'll kind of see where the next issue goes and from there. But so far it's okay. I wouldn't say it's blowing me away. I do like that it's written by Robert Kirkman, and the artwork is by Lorenzo Del Felici. I do like Del Felici's artwork. It's a good looking book. It's but definitely, I like I said, I like it. I just don't quite love it yet. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Next up, we have Hawkgirl #1. And Hawkgirl #2. They're written by they're both written by Jazda Axelrod. with artwork by Alman. I'm gonna really screw this up. I apologize. Almanake and Almake Nalupan. So this version of Hawkgirl is Kendra Saunders, and the first issue starts off where the Justice League has been disbanded, but they're fighting, these aliens that are coming in, and then she runs across Galaxy, she's from a young adult series, Galaxy, the Prettiest Star. You might want to check that out. I really like that young adult book, but I will say, Jazia did write that story, so that's kind of the reason she's in it. So basically, her and Kendra become, kind of friends, because Hawkgirl, is being. There's something, that's like affecting her. So Galaxy is able to help her and kind of, fix her, nth metal issue. But we find out that there's a villain, Valkypia, who is she's trying to get back to the nth dimension, and she needs more nth metal. And so there's that. That's basically kind of the storyline, and that's how Hawkgirl and Galaxy are, kind of teaming up to go against her. I actually really kind of enjoyed this. I wouldn't say that the book, blew me away or anything, but I really enjoyed it. Nalapan's artwork is really nice. It's a really good looking book. I think the thing that really surprised me is how much I enjoy it. It's a fun little book. It's actually really nice to see Galaxy, kind of come into the DC universe, from the young adult book. And I think it was worth checking out. It was something that kind of felt different, and I think that's the big thing. And also, it's also LGBTQ friendly, which is actually really nice. I mean, it's part of the story, but it didn't stick out like a sore thumb. And Galaxy is a trans lesbian, and that's kind of playing into the story a little bit. Like I said, I think it's well worth checking out. Both the story and the art are really nice, so definitely give that book a spin. Next up, we have The Cull, written by Kelly Thompson, with artwork by Mattia D. Ilias. So what this story is, it's kind of billed as kind of the Goonies meet Stranger Things. That's kind of its cell line. But what it is Katie, she gets her group of friends together because they're going to make a short film. But what we find out is that that's just kind of to get them out, to find what it is her brother Adrian is missing. So really she's going to go try to find Adrian with her friends. But if she kind of tells them that, they might not want to go. And I really don't want to say anything what the ending is, but I will say it's very, they go into this cave and there's something very interesting on the inside the cave. That's all I'm going to say. This, I will say this is pretty much a pure exposition first issue, but I did like it. I like how Thompson, gave us, cause there's like 5-6 kids. So she kind of gave us enough to get going, to give us a little bit about each of these kids. But like I said, it's a really good setup, but it is definitely, very exposition heavy, but I really did like it, and Ilias's artwork is really nice. This is a really good looking book. It'll be really interesting to see where it goes from in the second issue, because this first issue really does a big setup. But I definitely, it was well worth. I really enjoyed this book this week. So definitely check it out. Very worth checking out. Next up, we have Harley Quinn Black and White plus Redder #1, and Harley Quinn Black and White and plus Redder #2. So I'm gonna go down because there's each issue has 3 stories. So the first one has the Man of Steel, not Steel as in stealing, written by Chip Zdarsky with artwork by Kevin Maguire. Push Through the Pain by written by Leah Williams and artwork by Natasha Bustos. Getting Gaggy is written by Paul Scheer and Nick Giovanti, with artwork by Tom Riley. And in issue 2, we have Origin Stories for Dummies, written by Kelly Thompson, with artwork by Annie Wu. Then we have the next story is Great Pet Expectations, written and drawn by Brandt and Stein. And then the final story in issue 2, Coffee and Pie, Oh My, written by Ryan Parrott and with artwork by Luana Vecchio. So first of all, these were digital first. So these are just reprints of this series that first appeared digital. But once again, you all know me by now. I like print stuff. I like hanging on to things. But I will say, overall, once again, I'm a big fan of short stories. I think you could do a lot in short stories. For me, in the first issue, the by far the best one, not discounting any of them. All 6 stories have been really great so far, but Zdarsky and Maguire, first of all, it has Harley and Ivy breaking into the Fortress of Solitude, hence the Man of Steel, as in stealing. It basically, hilarity ensues. I don't want to give anything away, but having Kevin Maguire draw anything is just a win right there. But the good thing is Zdarsky is up to the task of writing a really brilliant story for his wonderful artwork. Push Through the Pain was quite interesting. What that story is about, it's a younger Harley in her teen years, and she's a gymnast, and basically she has the coach from hell who is just pretty much just pushes way too hard on the girls, and in the end Harley helps them get revenge and kind of teach her a lesson. Get Gaggy was really interesting. It was about a diamond heist. Gaggy, sets up a diamond heist. He gets Harley to be in on it, and then there's a kind of a flip at the end. It was a really neat story, and Riley's artwork was really nice. Sharon Giovanni did a nice job on that one. Now in issue 2, the first story is real fun. The dummy story, which is by Thompson and Wu. I really like that. What it is Harley kidnaps Zatanna, and so she goes into the villains bar, but everybody's like, oh, well, she's just, she's just, Joker's mall, and she's nothing. So she keeps having Zatanna change her into DC characters like Superman, Green Lantern, and stuff like that, go to the bar, and she's like, well, you'll respect me now. And they're like, no, not really. That was a lot of fun, and I really liked Wu's artwork. The Great Pet Expectations is really hilarious because it's Super Pets versus the Dominals. So Robin is there with the Super Pets, and it's like a pet show. And then Harley shows up with this, basically the villain version of the Super Pets, the Dominals. And so they decide to have a contest to see which team is better. And yeah, it does not go well for Harley and the Dominals, but it is freaking hilarious. I love this story. The artwork is just freaking amazing. It's very cutesy, which works perfectly into the story. Like I said, I've never heard of Brandt and Stein, but man, they nailed it on that one. That one was freaking hilarious. The last story, Coffee and My Pie, Oh My, Parrot, it's a story that Commissioner Gordon has goes to this diner where Harley has beaten up the cops, and we find out through the story that things are not as they seem. I don't want to give anything away, that Harley is actually maybe the hero of the story. Like I said, Parrott wrote a really nice story. Vecchio's artwork is really nice in that. I really like this. Once again, each issue, you can pick it up depending on who the creator is, but so far this is 2-0 in definitely all the creative teams are great. The stories and the artwork are really fantastic. Definitely well worth checking out. Next up we have Scrapper #1, written by Cliff Baczynski and Alex DeCampi, with artwork by Sandy Gerald. So it's a basic story about this superhero dog, and then we kind of learn his origin and how he was found. We don't know. They haven't said how he gets his powers or anything. Has something to do with like his collar. But it was kind of like okay. I was kind of like hoping, because I really like DeCampi is writing. But from what I understand is this is really Baczynski's story that DeCampi is, because he's actually a writer for video games, I believe, is what I'm to understand. And so I think DeCampi kind of helped him, kind of flesh out his story and make it, into a comic book. It was kind of okay. It's just kind of not particularly overwhelmed. It was kind of like a very basic start to the story. I mean, it had some nice stuff. I will say Gerald's artwork is actually quite nice. It's a good looking book. The story was really basic, and not that it was terrible. It was just kind of basic. So it's going to be one of those. The second issue is going to be a make or break on this book because, like I said, it's fine and everything, but it's just a very basic story structure. So we'll kind of see if the second issue kind of breaks that mold a little bit and goes forward. So kind of, not great, not terrible, kind of okay so far. Next up, we have Disney Villains Hades #1, written by Elliot Kalan, with artwork by Alessandro Rinaldi. So this is it's based on the character from the animated Disney film Hercules, which is one of my favorites. I love that film to death, so I was very excited. And honestly, for me, this book had a very high bar to work with, because I love that film, and Hades is a brilliant Disney villain. Good news is it's quite good. So what it is Hades hatches another plan. He needs to get the golden fleece of Kolochich, and but unfortunately it's guarded by a sleepless dragon. So first he sends Pain and Panic to go there, and that does not go well. So then he decides to get this team of people to convince them that they need to go get it. And of course, why should he do it when he can send other people? And then along the way, we learn the story of Jason and his Argonauts also want to get the golden fleece for some particular reason. So it's going to be like the two groups going together. I really like this first issue. As the big surprise is actually the artwork. Rinaldi's artwork is really, really good. It's a good looking book. It has a cartoony style, but not just like straight cartoony. It's actually really good, very dynamic artwork. This is really good. I'd say by far this is one of my favorite villains books so far. It's definitely, I think that the big key here is that both the story and art are really, really good. The Lion King was kind of okay. It was nice and everything, but it just felt very standard. The Maleficent was like, the story was okay and the art was good, but it was just kind of like it was kind of okay. This one's definitely the big winner. Definitely check it out. I really, really enjoyed this. Next up, we have Godzilla War for Humanity #1, written by Andrew McLean, with artwork by Jake Smith. Now, first of all, generally not that I love Godzilla. The comics have been kind of really hit and miss. It really depends on the creative team, but I will say this one you really need to pick this up. McLean's story is really good. It's about Dr. Yuko Honda, who when she was a kid, she was out with a friend, and while they were out, Hedorah, the smog monster, came, and Godzilla rescued her. So now what she does is she's become, a doctor and a scientist, and she's basically explaining that, kaijus are bad, but Godzilla is actually good. He's here to help humanity, which is true. It doesn't seem that way when he's destroying Tokyo, but so what it is there's a new kaiju, Zepora, who actually is able to release, this gas and basically infect other kaijus and make them, go crazy. So she is recruited by this kaiju task force Alpha to basically stop Zipporah. So that's the basic structure of the story. Like I said, Andrew McLean. The story is really good. The big win for this is Jake Smith. This artwork is absolutely fantastic. This is one of the best looking Godzilla books I've seen in quite a while. That's not a knock to any of the other artists that have come along. But really, McLean, him and Smith are just working like peanut butter and jelly, man. They just go together so well. It's a really great looking book. It's a really intriguing story. I really love this book. I'm very excited. Definitely check this out. One of the big wins this week. Next up, we have Tales of the Teen Titans, Starfire, #1. And then we have Tales of the Teen Titans, #2, Raven. Now, these are separate stories. They're standalone stories. So we'll break it down by each one. So the Starfire, that a Temerian ship from her homeworld comes to Earth, but it's like needs to recharge her battery, so she recharges it. And so they tell her that, there's this new kind of where a colony on New Palomar, and they need her help. So she goes there. Now, once again, she was a princess, and they keep referring to her princess, and she's like, I'm not a princess, anymore. And what it is this planet has been has these like tentacle landmines. So when somebody steps on them, or like a sheep steps on them, it gets eaten by the tentacle. And so what she does is helps the town, defeat the tentacle mines, and and she also kind of reconnects with her homeworld people. And it was an interesting story. The artwork. Let me go back. Starfire is written by Shannon Hale and Dean Hale, with artwork by Javier Rodriguez. The story's nice and everything. Rodriguez's artwork is nice. I mean, he gets the job done. It wasn't, flashy or anything. It was an okay story. I mean, I liked it and enjoyed it. I wouldn't say that I was overwhelmed by it. But it was enjoyable. If you're a fan of the Teen Titans and Starfire, I think it's an okay story. Like I said, it's not going to blow you away, but it was enjoyable. The Raven story is written by Tini Howard, with artwork by Eleanor Carney. Apologize for that. But basically it's not a retelling of the Raven story. It's kind of like a similar story to Raven, how her mother was convinced, by the Church of Blood to, have her daughter be the daughter of Trigon. So this is Trigon's son trilogy basically needs to father a son. It, sort of the same basic thing to, appease his father and to keep the lineage going. And so what it is, there's a mother that's there, and Raven goes to the Church of Blood to save her from that. And, once again, the story's nice and everything. The artwork by Connery is good, gets the job done. They both kind of fall into the same category. They're nice and everything. I wouldn't say that they were overwhelming, but if you like the characters, I think they're worth checking out. Just not particularly, overwhelming. They're okay. So that's kind of where those landed. So we'll see. Each issue is going to be a different creative team and a different Titans character. So, and finally this week we have the Lonesome Hunters, the Wolf Child, #2, written and drawn by Tyler Crook. Now, as I said when I reviewed the first issue, you really need to read the first mini-series. In a way, I think this is really not necessarily mini-series. I think because Crook is writing and drawing it, it just takes him a while. So it's kind of like this really is the second story arc in a lot of ways. The first issue would have been issue 5. So this is kind of issue 6. I really think that that's what it is, because you definitely really need to read the first story arc to get to understand the second story arc. Now, for those of you smart people out there that really read this wonderful first story arc, you're really going to enjoy the second story arc, because it continues the story of Howard and Lupe. Howard has the basically sword of God, and there that's a setup of the story. Now this continues it. So they've ended up in a small town. So there's this supernatural wolf that is kind of terrorizing the town. It's like eating cows and stuff. And but we also have that the church is not happy with Howard having the sword of God. So the president of the church has sent this kind of like handpicked these guys to go get the sword from Howard. So you have a convergence, well, not quite yet, but we're going to have a convergence of the story of the small town with the wolf, and then the churchgoers that are coming after the sword. So it's really interesting. I like this book a lot. I'm a really big fan of Tyler Crook. I really, like I said, I really enjoy the story. It's a good second story arc for what he set up in the first one. I love the characters of Howard and Lupe, their relationship and everything. We also, in the second issue, kind of learn what about the past, what has happened to Lupe, and her mother. And that was really, really interesting and really heartfelt. I really thought that was an amazing part of the story. So, like I said, I really love this book, but you really need to check out the first story arc. So definitely pick up the first trade and get this. But I really love this book, and Crook is just knocking it out of the park. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for hanging in there. And like I said, we'll do those catch-ups as they come along like I did this week. Apologies for missing a couple things because I usually don't do 2 books at one time. So apologies to some of the creators that I did mention everybody's name. It just took a little bit on some of them. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. It's a great store. Ryan Skinner, the owner, runs a great store. There's Annie, there's Wendy, there's Derek. It's a really good solid comic shop. They offer discounts on trades and graphic novels and manga and all ages books. They have a great pull service, so you don't miss any of the books. And if you get a discount if depending on how many books you order per month. But it's a really good store. Definitely check it out. They have a website. He puts up all the variants so you can buy them if you don't live locally. But definitely if you live in the LA area and you're down in the Long Beach area, definitely check out the store. Ryan's a great owner, and he loves comics like we all do. So and finally, as we end every show, be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. A lot of people you tend to forget about being kind to yourself. Just enjoy little things. Don't, look, life can get you down. Trust me. I mean, this week, I had problems with the car, but that's going to life is going to happen. Just take the time to be kind to yourself, do little things, go out, just enjoy something, go to a movie, have a nice lunch or something, just, but also, be kind to others, and once again, it's a simple thing. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Say hello, smile at people. It's really that simple. I at work every night I go out for a walk. I see people walking their dogs. I'm listening to music. They're listening to music. They got their dog. But you just acknowledge existence. That's the big thing, folks. That's with all the crazy stuff in the world, just being nice. Being kind to each other is just really good. And we need a lot more kindness. And thanks to John and Debbie for the Be Kind little statue that they gave me from Comic-Con. So that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. Hopefully it'll be a little sooner than this week. It's always a timing thing. But I appreciate you watching. Thanks for watching and sharing and comments. They've been really great. It's really thanks for everybody that keeps tuning in. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back again next week with more new comic book reviews. So thanks for watching. This is Steven from popculturemaven.com signing off. Take care of yourselves, be kind, and we'll see you again next week. All right, bye-bye.